Welcome back. It's Tim and Julie Harrison. This is your favorite daily real estate coaching and training podcast. I want to start out by thanking all of you who have expressed interest in being in my elite coaching schedule. I don't think you quite know what you're signing up yourself up for, but I will be following up with all of you over the next few days, and we'll see if we're a good fit for each other. And again, I am interested in finding a handful. I'll define what a handful is. Julie's saying it's 10, so it's probably going to be 10 of elite coaching clients. And those elite coaching clients are going to be somebody that's going to work with me directly. It could be a couple, an individual agent who's going to be working with me directly to build their business, not just their business, but also, build. We talked a lot about this yesterday and a lot about this last Friday, but build their money, their wealth, their health, and mindset, spirituality, freedom, travel. In other words, it's going to be a holistic approach, taking care of all aspects of building your real estate business and your personal life. And I did receive a lot of interesting texts yesterday from people that were EXP Realty who know what we've done with our own revenue share group and are interested in doing it themselves. And yes, if that's something that interests you and frankly, we're a good fit, me as your coach, you as a client for me, then that's absolutely something I'm interested in having that conversation with you about as well. There's been virtually nobody that's done what we've done as far as building a revenue share group at EXP. So let's have that conversation. And there's two ways forward for you. Well, there's one way forward with regards to learning about elite coaching. So Julie's interested in having 3 clients. I'm evidently interested in having 10 clients, but you can text me directly at 512-758-0206, 512-758-0206. Now, please keep in mind, elite coaching is expensive. It's our pinnacle coaching program. You can learn more about it if you go to our website, timandjulieharris.com. Elite coaching is not for everybody. We're looking for people that are either on the quick ascension or have already arrived and ready to take their business and personal lives to the next level. This probably is not a fit for a newer agent unless that newer agent has a lot of work and life experience that they're bringing to the table that makes it so that they don't have to be told to follow up on your leads and things like that. So this is not a basic coaching relationship. This is a coaching relationship that's really only appropriate for somebody that A, can afford it, and B, is ready for that level of intensity when it comes to being having me in your life or Julie in your life. And we have a couple other elite coaches as well. All right. So again, 512-758-0206. Julie, today you chose the topic, the real estate agent's guide to confident communication. And I know this is something that definitely agents need to have, and especially in a market like this, but why did you choose this topic and what is this actually about?
Well, that's a great question. So we spend a lot of time on this topic in coaching. And of course, we have scripts and strategies, but sometimes it comes down to how you say it, what you say, when you say it, what is the strategy for the conversation. So we have, formal scripts like the buyer and seller pre-qualification script. Those are very well prescribed, very well used. They're, it's always the same questions. That's a specific script. But we also have these things that happen within transactions. Talking agent to agent, talking with a difficult seller, talking with a buyer who seems to be really intense all the time, and then they ghost you. I call these situational scripts, right? They're not the same every single time, but still agents get stuck having a confident conversation that gives them the results that isn't just for them, but really is helping their client. So that's what we're talking about. And there's lots of different directions we can go. Sometimes you get stuck do you get stuck knowing what to say or how to say it? Do you desire more confidence in your conversation? We're going to talk about how to do that without sounding pushy, salesy, or cheesy. That's always the agent's fear, right? I don't want to sound like a pushy salesperson, but I do need to make this call. I need to communicate. So that's what prompted this.
Generally speaking, agents will fall into 2 camps. They'll either be too indirect and that'll cause the consumer to have lack of confidence in them. Or they'll be too direct, which will piss the consumer off and cause the consumer not to want to do business with them.
Run them away, yes.
And they'll lose the deal. And the magic is in the middle. And that's a lot of what Julie she said the word script, which I know makes some of you guys want to run for the hills. All a script is a conversational outline. That's it. It just, a lot of questions basically that's supposed to steer the conversation in such a way that it's helping the consumer, the buyer, the seller arrive at a logical decision that's best for them. That's all a script is. It's not some sort of, heavy-handed manipulative approach. We don't do that. I don't know if anyone else that does it either. All a script is a way for you to have confidence when you're having a conversation. This is a seller that wants to sell a house. They're in conflict with the fact that the market's telling them the house is overpriced. You need to tell them that, Mr. Seller, we need to reposition the house on the market so that it correctly reflects the buyer's expectations versus saying the house is overpriced, we need to lower the price, which will get you fired. Versus the other end of the spectrum, well, let's wait and see what the market tells us, and then the listing expires and you end up getting nothing. You guys get it? So this is what it's about. Higher level of communication comes from having a organized, conversational, scripted approach to most everything you do in your real estate career. And you'll realize the beauty of real estate is you really don't have to have that many scripts, because pretty much it's Groundhog Day when you're operating at a high level. You're saying the same thing to different people, and they're saying the same thing back to you day after day after day after day. It's like, Groundhog Day, but that's okay, because that's how you get paid. All right, Julie, let's go on to point number 1, and I'll read it and you can dive into your points. Listen to understand, not just to respond.
Yes. And it's not just a rookie mistake. Sometimes you're just so anxious to get on that conversation, you're listening to respond. So I have 4 little mini bullet points, and you can pause me anytime. Okay, so listen to understand, not just to respond. Deep dive into their needs. Be fascinated by how you can help them. Use buyer and seller pre-qualification scripts like a detective gathering clues. Listen attentively, ask follow-up questions, and take notes. Don't just get through the script. Listen to the answers. Related to that, interview both partners if there's more than one person buying or selling. Speak with each person individually. Sometimes that could be multiple investors. What's most important to each person? What are the things to avoid? How do you win or lose with each person? Is there something that seems to trigger them? Maybe they had a bad agent experience before and they say something like, I never heard from my other agent. So lack of communication is their hot button, but you need to know what those are. Another mini bullet point here, same topic, is ask probing questions. Go beyond surface level needs. Ask, is there anything that I haven't asked that I should know? That one question can prevent costly surprises. You and I used to ask that question at the end of listing presentations. We were just about there, but there seemed to be maybe a little hesitation. What should we have discussed that we haven't already? That's really asking for any missing objections that you still need to handle.
Well, if the seller's not signing at the end of our listing presentation, I'll give you guys, because our listing presentation is, foolproof. And if they're not signing, it's because almost always it's because they're not in alignment with you about the price. And if
they're not in alignment with each other, and you've got to discover that.
Exactly. And if you did not pre-qualify them using our scripts, then you're not going to know what so one of the things you have to know is what they think the house is worth before you go on the appointment. And we give you a scripted approach to doing that. That way, when you go on the appointment, you're not going to have any conflict about the price, because you've already, essentially done your homework on it. But sometimes at the end of a listing appointment, if the seller's not willing to move forward with you and sign the contract, this is the script. Mr. Seller, so listen, I've helped a lot of people sell their homes and in a lot of appointments like these. And I found that when someone's not moving forward with me at this moment, it's probably because there's a question that remains unanswered in their mind. So if there was a question, or maybe 2 questions that remain unanswered in your mind, Mr. Seller, what would those questions be? And just shut up and listen to what they say. And sometimes, I'll give you guys a little advanced coaching here. If they still resist and, oh no, you're fine, everything's great, I guarantee you it's the price.
Yes, that's right. If there's a question, very, very specific, I'm glad that you brought that up. Sellers are pretty much unclosable if you have not resolved price.
Right.
So in our coaching, we talk about this with regards to the listing presentation and how it's set up using the pre-qualification scripts, using the 7-step listing process. You should not have that problem, but every now and then you do. And it's because maybe they happen to talk to another agent right before you, which also you should know about, right? But let's just say that slipped past you. And that agent, of course, overpriced it, or they overpriced and undercommissioned it. And they're just thinking, and the seller almost always knows that price is too high, but it's made them think maybe we really could get that crazy price. So they become unclosable to you because there's this thing stuck in their head. You shouldn't give up at that point. You use questions like this, right, to bring that out. And then you can go back into your CMA. You can create a game plan. Maybe you can try that higher price for 2 weeks or 10 showings, whichever happens first, and you still walk away with the listing.
The main thing is to follow the 7-step listing process and fully pre-qualify them, and do situate yourself so you go on the appointment last. And Julie's, we have, personally experienced this, and a lot of our top elite coaching clients experience this. When you become dominant, your elite level coaching client in your community, and everyone is afraid of competing with you for a listing, the only game they're going to have to beat you, because they know you've situated to go last and meet with that seller, The only game they're going to have to try to beat you is basically under commissioning the deal or overpricing or doing both. So you have to know that when you go prior to the appointment, you have to know, are you, Mr. Seller, generally speaking, when folks are interviewing me, they usually won't want to talk with anyone else because I am the agent for them when it comes to, hiring someone for the job of selling their home. But out of curiosity, are you thinking about interviewing anybody else? And if they say no, great, just go on to the next question. If they say yes, then you ask them, well, okay, that's okay. I understand. That makes sense. So who are you interviewing? And then they'll tell you. And then you'll see that you're probably interviewing or competing against someone you've never heard of before, and maybe someone you've usually kind of heard of. In other words, the first agent would have been someone they knew from their center of influence past client. And the second one was maybe the agent that sold the house across the street. So when you're one of our coaching clients and you're operating at the top level, you'll know to ask to go third on the appointment after they've had an opportunity to meet with everyone. You follow our 7-step listing process. You fully pre-qualified. You sent the pre-listing pack. And at that point, you've sent a net sheet ahead of time that shows the 3 different scenarios as far as the house it might sell for this price, this price, this price. That way, in the third price is the aspirational price. Notice I didn't say overprice. I said aspirational price.
Yeah.
The aspirational price is the third price. You're doing it that way because if you're competing against a low-skilled agent, that the only way they can compete against you is by overpricing something. You've already removed their little game because you've shown on a net sheet the fact that there's 3 different scenarios and this is the upper end price range that we could potentially be asking. This is all you're anticipating what your competition is going to do to try to win that listing away from you. And our whole listing process teaches you to do all these things. It's funny, Julie, I had another call with an elite coaching client, a prospective one, and they were heavy on buyers, just taking listings that came from their centers of influence and past clients. And now they've been listening to the podcast. They want to start going after expireds and the expansive opportunities that a market like this creates, but they're not competitive. Going through and asking them a bunch of questions. Do you have a pre-listing pack? No. Do you have a communications guarantee? No. Do you pre-qualify? Well, I do. I pre-qualify. All right, we're going to role play. I want you to pre-qualify. I'm the seller. And they have no pre-qualification script. They just think they do. All these things. And so for me as a coach, that's exciting because I see so many opportunities that I can help them improve. Each of these little improvements is maybe a 3 to 5% difference in their income and their results. But altogether, their business doubles, triples, quadruples.
And fairly quickly too, because these are major changes. These are major upgrades that you can do very quickly and deploy on your next listing presentation.
That's right. So again, if you guys want to talk with us about elite coaching, just text me directly at 512-758-0206. All right, Julie, next point.
Okay, number 2, and you just mentioned it. It plays right into the communications guarantee. So here's something that seems like such a simple point, and it gets agents all tangled up. Understand, okay, so point number 2 is clarify their communication preferences. Understand the client's preferred method. Just because you text all day does not necessarily mean that they do. Do they prefer texting, phone calls, email, or in-person meetings? And if it is texting, is that SMS, WhatsApp, Messenger? Get the GPS for your communication route and set clear rules. Avoid miscommunication by setting expectations early. When in doubt, you default to phone conversations or face-to-face, and of course, never negotiate by text. Here's what happens. Agents will get this relationship going. They'll use the pre-qualification scripts. Everything will be going great. And then they seem like the client ghosted them. And it's because that they're nonstop texting that person.
Well, that's the reason in our pre-listing pack, which you guys will be sending out. By the way, there's we have pre-listing packs for sellers. We have pre-appointment packs for buyers. That's all part of Premier Coaching. So prior to going out, you're going to send this pre-listing pack. And the pre-listing pack has something in it called the communications guarantee. And because we already know, and you guys should know too by listening to this podcast every day, that the number one complaint that everybody seems to have about their agent that it's a NAR survey. After someone closes, they survey consumers rando and they ask them what was the good and the bad about the agent you worked with. Like 99% of the time they liked their agent, but 99% of the time they hated how infrequently their agent communicated with them. Now that agent, right, that agent may have been communicating with them all the time in a format that the consumer wasn't using. Like if you try to message me on WhatsApp, I check that maybe once a week, or Instagram.
But there's people that only use WhatsApp. That's their jam.
Yeah, totally. But that's the point. So you have to this is my communications guarantee. This is how frequently I'm going to be communicating with you. Do you want more or less? This is the system that I'm going to be communicating you on. And you put it all in writing. All right, Julie, let's go to the next point. Point number 3.
Yes. Okay. So this is when we get a little bit into the weeds. This kind of communication is typically mid transaction, right? So the point is number 3, be the solution, not the problem. Sometimes deals don't close actually because the agents, okay? So minimize stress. Real estate is naturally emotional. Your job is to stay calm, stay professional, and offer compassion without absorbing your client's stress. Be the superhero, not the sidekick. So it's going to be stressful. That's going to happen. Accept that, but don't jump into the weeds with them. Communicate frequently. Even if there's no news, just say so. I'm checking in today. Everything is still on track. That's so comforting, especially to sellers, but also to buyers, to just know that everything's okay. Because I got news for you. If they don't hear from you, do they think everything is sunshine and roses? Or is the world actually coming to an end for them? That's
Yeah.
where they go if they haven't heard from you. Back to
And
the
this is,
communications guarantee, right?
and I'll tell you a mistake that a lot of agents make. They find glory in not having to communicate with their clients. Like, I
Oh,
have someone that does that. I have a system that does that. What you guys don't realize is that mostly this is definitely true with everyone, but really true with upper end clients.
mhm.
So Mr. Seller, listen, I do have a team that works for me. And this is in your pre-listing pack or your pre-buyer appointment pack. And these are the people that I have work with me. This is my buyer agent. This is da, da, da. But what I want
Transaction
you,
coordinators. Yeah.
right. What I want you to understand is that those people are there to make it so that I can focus all of my uh, energies on you. So I'm not delegating you to my team, which is maybe what an experience you've had in the past, which you didn't like, or maybe somebody that you're also talking to. You realize that when you list with Jennifer, that Jennifer is actually just going to delegate you to her team and ask her how frequently you're going to hear from her. She's not going to ever call you again. She's going to have Betty call you. And so Betty's great. I'm not saying anything bad about Betty, but when you hire me, you're getting me. And I'm going to be the one that's going to be communicating with you on a regular basis. And however you would choose to have me communicate with you based on the, communications guarantee. You're going to be hearing from me. I will be emailing you. I will be sending you updated CMAs automatically through your CRM, dear listener. But I'm going to be the one that's in communication with you. Now, why are you doing that? Especially at the upper end, because it makes a huge difference. The upper end does not hire somebody to be delegated. And if you guys are trying to work into the upper end and it's not catching, you're not finding any traction, it's because you're trying to run a Walmart or a Target type business model to people that are used to Hermes and Ferrari, and you're going to miss them every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Use the script I just gave you. Mr. Seller, you won't be delegated, but the things that I have to do that would otherwise require my attention, those will be delegated to my team so I can focus on my best interests on you. Guys, get the difference? Remember, I gave you that script. All right,
You
Juliet?
delegate tasks, not the relationship.
Yeah. And by the way, when you do it that way, you can then use our scripts. And when you're calling them, we give you a 120-day communication plan where you're telling, and this is all part of our coaching, where we're telling you what they're supposed to be saying, what you're supposed to be saying to them every single week. I would say 50% of the system is essentially emailing them things, but you do have to call them, or if they don't want you to call them, you do have to text them and give them little updates. But when you do, you then start building trust with them, and then you start asking them for referrals. By the way, Mr. Seller, before I let you go, who do you know is thinking about buying or selling real estate in this market that I should be speaking with? Or Mr. Seller, who do you know? This is the script that Julie and I developed back when the market was correcting, 16 years ago, but it's such a killer script. By the way, Mr. Seller, who do you know who's thinking about selling or might have their house for sale that might be having trouble selling their home that I might be able to help? Things like that makes a huge difference. I'm not telling you to cross the sign or anything like that, but it's going to get this. You know what? The neighbors down the way, they have had their house for sale for 6 months, and I know they're looking for a new agent. Well, Mr. Seller, would you mind if you pass my name along to them and then ask the seller, follow up with the seller, and they'll do it for you? But you won't earn the right to get referrals from them until you have proven to them that you're not a flake. And the only way to do that is obviously get their home sold or help them buy a house, but communicate with them. That is the number one job of any high-level salesperson. Next point, Julie.
100%. Okay, number 4, be a problem solver when things go sideways. Report with solutions. Never drop bad news without the parachute. Bring 3 potential solutions with every challenge. You're the wise owl in the forest, not the crow of doom, okay? Or better yet, report that you've already solved the issue so that they don't have to worry about it. We've all been in situations where it's like, okay, there's this big problem. Freak out, freak out, freak out. Come unglued. Oh my God, the deal's going sideways. That's not how to manage it. stuff goes sideways in real estate transactions, whether that's inspections, appraisals, financing, closing, and possession dates. You've got all these things to manage. Something's going to go sideways. Don't just report the issue, report what you've done about it. And if you're not exactly sure what to do about it, maybe you're dealing with the other agent and their client on the other side, talk about it before you drop the problem bomb on your client and bring 2 or 3 solutions, which is best for you. That's so much more peaceful to your clients than just delivering terrible news to them.
And you can also prove,
yeah, go ahead.
you can also prove to them that you've been trying to save them from the stress. But like say, for example, you had a home inspection. And let's say, for example, the home inspection shows that there's a new roof that's needed and it's be a big expense and a big nightmare. Inexperienced agents are going to drop that bad news bomb on the seller and bring all this drama and not, oh, we're going to call out 15 different inspectors and we're going to be, the seller's going like, oh my gosh, this is a freaking nightmare. And they're going to realize that you're a hack. All right. So the better solution would be Mr. Seller. So we had the home inspection come back. The buyer's insistent on the roof getting replaced. So I've gone ahead and I've gotten some estimates and these are the 3 estimates. And so here's low, medium, and high. In addition to that, Mr. Seller, I've also talked with the buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent said the buyer would be willing, so you don't have to hassle with replacing the roof yourself prior to closing. We put the money into an escrow account that I've already talked to the title company. They'll be more than willing to hold. Don't worry. If you don't want to, we'll take the money. Essentially it's going to be a $20,000 roof. Maybe you've tried to negotiate it. Maybe there's 10 years left on the roof or 5 years left on the roof. And maybe the new roof is going to cost $30,000 or $100,000. You're not agreeing to pay all the roof. You're agreeing to pay for a portion of it. So whatever the negotiated, but you're telling them all the things you've done and you're telling them what you've essentially the work you've done. Then you call them and you tell them. Don't just bring an unsolved problem to them. They will hate you. And if you do that once, I promise you, that's what they're going to remember the most from that client transaction. The fact that you dropped that stress bomb on their laps, because you don't know what's going on in their lives, and you might successfully close it, but you are never going to hear from that seller again or that buyer again.
You know where I learned this, Tim? You'll remember this. It was one of our bigger transactions, okay? But it took freaking forever. And it was really stressful. This was before everybody used transaction coordinators. I was managing a lot of this. It was Rich and Joan. Okay. They were relocating. So they had stress from that. They had a house to sell in their previous market. They were buying one of our listings from one of our builders. It was a non-complete house yet. So we had to live through finishing it out. There were other things going on. There was new construction inspections and building permits. It was like lions and tigers and bears oh my, right? And I felt very stressed. I felt a bit intimidated by them at the time because there were so many things going on in the builder and this and that. I felt stressed out about it. And I will never forget doing the walkthrough, which had an epic checklist because, new construction has the punch list and all these things.
Well, Jill, you're forgetting a detail. Okay.
What?
It was our listing. It was 1.3 million. We're double ending it ourselves. Yeah. And the builder was his previous construction company was building churches. Churches. So this guy had an eye for detail like you've never seen before, which the buyers loved. But it means that there was always, it wasn't just installing the trim or putting the kitchen in. It was a billion other things because he was.
And it was a big house.
It was a huge house. It was like 11,000 square feet. There were 2 adults and 2 dogs.
Yeah. I know. But, and so the moral of the story was I was absorbing a lot of that. And I thought, okay, here goes the walkthrough. They're going to be stressed out. Something's going to go sideways or wrong. And I will never forget Rich. We're walking around the walkthrough. He puts his arm around me and he's like, I just want to thank you. And I was like, is this a trick? He's like, no, I just want to thank you for being the calm in the storm that was this transaction for us. And I thought, well, I was very complimented by that. I thought, he really did, in spite of all the back and forth and the stressful things and the checklists and all this stuff, and dealing with the builder and we were closing in the winter and the big move and all of these things that he took. I was really happy with that he was like, you are the calm in the storm. And that was a lesson to me that even though we have to work really hard to be ahead of everything all the time, and it does feel stressful at the time, that's how you get repeat and referral business. That's how you have clients trust you. And that was a result of having the communication plan and not just having it, but doing it. Okay. And I used to hate making some of those calls, right?
They didn't live. How long did they live there? A year or 2?
Like 2 years or something.
Yeah. And they decided they didn't like it. So they listed the house with us again.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they moved to actually the market where Julie and I originally started selling real estate in Clintonville. So that was
Yeah.
like wackadoo, but that was just hilarious. I mean, the whole cycle of
Yeah.
that. Yeah. But that wouldn't have happened had Julie been bringing them drama. And why do agents bring drama? It's because they think they feel insecure about the commission they're making.
They have commission guilt. Yeah.
Or just
Metaphor.
whatever it is, it's lack of professionalism. And they think that that's where they get their value is by bringing drama. It's like the whole, gossipy type mindset of, that. And it's not, trust me when I tell you, that's a surefire way of not only losing potential clients and losing deals, but burning yourself out too, because it just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't go well when you act that way. Yeah.
There's really virtually nothing that's truly urgent in life. And there's nothing that's truly urgent in real estate. If you are able to sort of step back and take a more professional approach to it, because everything has a solution. But what happens is if you get a call from an inexperienced agent who's so full of drama, you're going to oftentimes have to step in, kind of coach and calm them down. And then in worst case scenario, you're going to have to do both ends of the transaction because that agent just doesn't have the skill set or maybe the emotional resilience to get that deal closed. You might have a listing. You might have to end up essentially doing the buyer agent's job and to get that deal closed. I mean, these are the complexities that anyone who's been in the business for a long period of time, you guys know, because you have your own stories. Julie and I like to share ours, but you've got your own. And you're probably a great candidate to be a elite coaching client. If you're really looking to take your business and personal life to the next level, it's definitely something Julie and I are interested in talking with you about. Remember to text me directly at 512-758-0206. And do give a little, background, a little LinkedIn profile to your actual experience. And let's have that conversation. 512-758-0206. And do not call, please do text. Last point, Julie.
Yes. Okay. And these are little minor points underneath the heading of watch your language. Words do matter. Okay. So when we say watch your language, everybody thinks, okay, no swearing. That's right. Even if your client does, don't follow suit. Be the classy captain of the ship, not the truck driver. Okay. You might think it sounds cool. You might do that in real life. There's no place in real estate or in professional behavior. It's just basic manners, right? Okay. Also related to watch your language, use logical language. In tense moments, lean into facts, not feelings. Be the Mr. Spock of the transaction. Okay. If it needs a roof, in your example, bring a specific example, how much it's going to cost. The next point is be factual. Ditch vague language like I guess, maybe, or I suppose. You can instead say, I'll confirm and follow up shortly. When you use nebulous language, I guess, maybe, or I suppose, and you and I both look on coaching calls for that language. If somebody is allegedly committing to something like a production number in their goals after going over it, making sure they know how to do it, but that coaching client says, I guess, and maybe, and we'll see how it goes, and I'll give it a try. How committed are you really? Same thing subconsciously from your real estate clients. If you're in the middle of a transaction, you're trying to help them with something, but you use weak language, they're not going to trust you. It may be subconscious, and they might not even tell you. Maybe they just stop calling you back because they don't have confidence in you.
And your ego is making you think that you have to have answers for everything, which is a great character flaw, by the way. So make sure especially if you're analytical, it's especially, I think, painful for you not to have the answers to everything. So you'll over prepare. You'll want to have every sort of scenario game planned out in your mind. When you're in life and you get a question that you don't know the answer to, don't assume that this person asking you the question doesn't already know the answer. They might just be asking you the question to see if you're going to bullshit them. And so if you don't know the answer to the question, you need to learn and give yourself a little grace. And you need to say, that's a great question. Let me research that so I can give you really what's the state of the art answer to that question. I really appreciate you asking. And then move back to your script, move back to what the conversation focus should be. You need to work on all these little communication things, because if you are trying to take your business to the next level and you're making some of these, like when you talk to someone who's a true professional, it doesn't matter what they're selling. You can intuitively, you just feel different around them. Maybe you've never had an experience like that before. And maybe it's your lack of exposure, not knowing the difference between what it's like to really work with somebody who's been there, done that, or versus somebody that's acting like they've been there, done that. This sounds egotistical, but I'm just going to put it out there. When you guys, tens of thousands of you guys listen to our podcast every single month, right? It's the most downloaded podcast, daily real estate podcast in the country. We've had over 20 million downloads. I guarantee you that when you listen to Julie and I on this podcast, because we do listen to other real estate podcasts, I guarantee you can tell a difference. You can tell a difference in the way we present, the way we talk. You can tell a difference on how we can drill down and get to root things because we've been doing this for so long. You can intuitively say when you're listening to, in your mind, you're thinking, when you listen to us, and at least this is based on your feedback. I mean, we have what, 700 5-star reviews on iTunes, and our book's a best-selling. And I read what people say. Julie and I both do. And it's because you guys appreciate the fact that we're real. We've been there, done that, and we've helped other people do the same at a high level for a long period of time. When you are trying to be successful in your chosen path, which is a real estate practitioner, you need to focus on that next level. And if everyone around you is sort of hackish and sort of just piece and meal things together and sort of winging it, and you're picking up on their sort of half-assed approach to what to say and how to say it, and they don't have a pre-listing pack, they don't have a listing presentation, they're just sort of, essentially flying with no parachute, jumping out of a plane with no parachute when they're going on listing appointments. And that's been your role model since you've got your real estate career. You have no idea the opportunity that you're leaving alongside the road because of the fact that you're not using a more of a scripted professional approach. Same goes with building your wealth. Same goes with building your passive income. Same goes with building your EXP Realty group if you're at EXP Realty, all these things. So one of the fastest wealth creators for Julie and I would say not just wealth, but health, wealth, marital happiness, familial advice, connection with God, all these things have always happened from, yes, our sincere interest in reading and listening to podcasts and the rest of it, but it's been because of the people we have aligned ourselves with and associated with. So if Julie and I are wanting to adopt or have a new set of skills, improve this particular area of our lives, we'll go out and we'll do homework. We'll listen to podcasts, what a lot of you guys are doing. We might read some books, but then what we're going to do is we're going to seek out the best people we can find. Julie plateaued with doing our normal kettlebell workout, and now she's basically doing this boot camp almost every day, things like that. You've always got to be improving. And even if you think you've made it, you're in a state of complacency, you're going to lose what you already have. That's not a Tim and Julie rule. That's a life rule. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing as arriving. Now you can, interestingly enough, get to the point where you've arrived financially. And as long as you're feeding the income sources, that'll be everlasting. You can have that because of compounding interest, frankly. And if you
refer to yesterday's podcast.
Exactly. Because the money will replace itself and it'll keep on growing without you. EXP Realty's revenue share, when you put some energy towards that, it will do the same thing. Those things are kind of miraculous, incredible when you see them actually growing for you. But when it comes to most everything, your skill set being the number one, if you stop feeding that and trying to constantly improve by who you're aligning with, you're going to lose what you already have. And it happens so fast, especially in real estate, because it's so competitive. What do you think about that, Julie?
Yeah, I mean, that is a fact. And a lot of the things that we talk about in coaching are not just great for your real estate practice, but also great for life, right?
Yeah,
so, yes.
Exactly. So guys, listen, thank you for keeping this #1 listened to daily podcast to real estate agents in at least the United States. We are sincerely interested in taking on a handful of elite coaching clients. So if you think you're ready for elite coaching, text me directly at 512-758-0206. I'm only going to take on 10 clients. Julie says she wants another 3 clients, and that's going to be that. And for those 10 clients, you guys are going to have an extraordinary experience. We're going to work on all aspects of your life, health, making money, your business, all the things, but we're also our goal is to have a mastermind amongst all of you who are our elite coaching clients. And then we're going to do retreats. You guys can come visit with us at the Ritz-Carlton, Puerto Rico, those types of things. That's what we're hoping. That's what we're aspiring, to create. Mm-hmm. And if you think you're a good fit for that, and if you're looking for a long-term partner in your continued ascension, or if you want to get back to climbing, please do consider becoming an elite coaching client. Text me directly at 512-758-0206. In the meantime, have a fantastic day. We will talk with you on the show tomorrow.